Hello, this video is about Office 365 licensing and mailboxes. This video is to help our valued customers understand licensing that we offer for Office 365 and some of the mechanisms in the mailboxes from Office 365 and Exchange Online, so we can better help you plan your email setup when we migrate to Office 365. So first thing we'll talk about is the plans that we offer most often to our valued customers, Business Essentials and Business Premium. And then we'll talk about pieces within Office 365, how user mailboxes are set up, how they're related to shared mailboxes, and how aliases and distribution groups can also be used. So the two plans that we offer most often to our customers is the Office 365 Business Essentials and the Office 365 Business Premium. Most importantly, it includes Exchange Online, which is the email services. We'll go into the services in the next slide, but both Office 365 Business Essentials and Office 365 Business Premium offer the email services as well as some other services which we'll go into in a second. But the big difference is Office 365 Business Premium allows you to install the latest version of Microsoft Office applications on your PC or Mac for as long as you are subscribed. So if the current release of Microsoft Office for the desktop is Office 2016, you can install Office 2016. When the new version, Office 2019, comes out, then you can install Office 2019. And whatever version is after that, Office 2020, 2030, whatever it is, you'll be able to install that then. That's with Office 365 Business Premium. With Office 365 Business Essentials, you must already own or purchase a compatible version of Microsoft Office. It has to be 2010 or newer. Microsoft has discontinued support for Microsoft Office 2007, integrating with Exchange and Office 365. Also, you need to consider how soon it's going to be until the 2010 version is going to be no longer supported. So it's a good thing to consider. Maybe you've already purchased many copies of the most recent Office 2016, so you're up to date, but maybe you have some old versions that you need to get updated. So it's definitely something to consider between the two with regards to what you're going to have installed on the desktop to be compatible with the email services. Here's some of the other services included. As I noted before, with the Office 365 Business Essentials, let's go back for a second. With both, you get the Exchange email services, which is the main application, main online application there. OneDrive, you get some OneDrive space for each user. You get a mini version of SharePoint. You get Skype for Business, and Microsoft Teams, which is a collaboration suite, sharing files, sharing workflow. It's a very versatile piece of software, which we don't really go into. We won't be going into in this video anyway, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's a pretty neat piece of software. Anyway, there's others available too. So if you're subscribed to Business Premium, you will have access to some more of these. Here's the online version of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook. So with Office 365 Business Essentials, you get an online version of this, which means you have to be logged into the Office 365 portal to use them. They do work. They're online. You don't get them on your desktop as you would if you got Office 365 Business Premium and installed the applications. Some of these other ones here too are actually really neat. Sway is a new presentation software. Yammer is an instant messaging software. Staff Hub is a staff scheduling software. Stream and Video are just that, video production and video sharing. So lots there that you get when you subscribe to Office 365 Business Essentials or Premium. Depending on which package you have, you're going to get different online applications. These are all online. Some of the pricing here, I have about $6.50 per user per month. As of right now, that's about what it is, but Microsoft can change their pricing and they may have promotions on. We pass savings along to our customers, of course. But Office 365 Business Essentials is about $6.50 per user per month. and Office 365 Business Premium is about $13.50 per or $13 per user per month. But definitely work with 365 Technologies and our purchasing manager and account rep, and we'll make sure we get the best pricing to you we can. One other plan is Office 365 Business. So we talked about Office 365 Business Essentials, what that is. We talked about Office 365 Business Premium, how that's a little different. Office 365 Business is kind of right in the middle. With this one, you get the applications, but you don't get the services. So in the case where you may already have an Office 365 Exchange service, or maybe you have on-premise Exchange service, the only thing that Office 365 Business could do for you is allow you to install the applications, the newest version all the time. So a little bit different. It does exist. We haven't sold much of this at all to our customers. It's just not something that is practical for them. For the most part, our customers are going with Office 365 Business Essentials and Office 365 Business Premium. I'll mention these other plans for terminal server. If you have a terminal server in your environment, you have to get special Microsoft Office 365 licensing, and these are some of the plans that you would go to. I'm not going to go into these. It's just you get more mailbox space, some different apps. Here's Publisher that comes with the with some of these plans that you can install locally, and also the Power BI Pro. But these plans get much more expensive. I believe this E5 is $50 per user per month. So this one gets quite expensive. And I just mentioned this because they exist. If you have a terminal server, you probably actually have to go to one of these plans. That's just Microsoft's licensing requirements. So that's about it for the licensing piece. Now we're going to go into mailboxes. We're going to talk about the process between going from your existing email system to an Office 365 email system, and what to do about planning your mailboxes. So some email systems were not strict on licensing. We saw this with older on-premise Microsoft Exchange installs. Licensing was on the honor system. So if you, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, if you got a Exchange server on site, you might have bought, I don't know, 15 or 20 licenses to set up mailboxes. Well, there was no mechanism, and there still is no mechanism in place to count those and restrict them. It's kind of on the honor system. So what was happening a lot is people just kept setting up mailboxes and setting up mailboxes, and it wasn't very efficient. Sometimes people got into situations where it wasn't the best, the most efficient, the most logical setup of mailboxes. So as we 365 Technologies help you determine what your new structure is going to be, we'll be taking this into account. You might have more mailboxes than you actually need, and we don't want to have you purchase licenses for mailboxes that you don't need. So that's kind of why that may have occurred. It was on the honor system, and you would be just setting up mailboxes for that you don't need anymore. Some email systems use confusing mechanisms to enable certain scenarios. For example, mail forwarding between mailboxes. So MTS, now Bell MTS, MTS Mail was famous for this. They used a POP SMT or IMAP system, and they would often just set up another mailbox and then have things auto forwarding between them. And I'll go into an example here in a second, which was really inefficient, and we don't want to replicate that when we migrate you to Office 365. Other on-premise mail servers, maybe MDaemon or Curio, they didn't have the best sharing mechanisms, so they would also set up these forwards between mailboxes. So I'll give an example. Let's say we have Jane and Bob, who are users at a company called Alpha, and here's them with their mailbox, and there's Bob with his mailbox. But so they would receive their email to Bob at alpha.com and Jane at Alpha. They would receive their mail to their mailboxes, but then what they would do, either the vendor or maybe their IT person, or maybe they have access to it themselves, if they wanted, say, an email address called sales, they would actually set up another mailbox. They'd set up a whole other mailbox for one address, email would come to that address, but then it would be automatically forwarded to Bob. Similarly, if they want an email to go to an address info@alpha.com, it would go there and then it would be forwarded to two people, Jane and Bob. And also, if maybe they had a previous employee named Billy who is left, what they would do is they would just have that email forwarded to one of them. So in this scenario, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mailboxes for 5 email addresses, but you only have 2 people. So I'm going to show you as we go into the different mechanisms available in Office 365. I'm going to show you how we can accomplish this in a much more simple way and not incur as many licenses as we would if we just move this over. And that's why it's important to kind of start from scratch. So let's get going on that. We'll use mechanisms like aliases, distribution lists, and shared mailboxes to reduce the number of user mailboxes and licenses required. In Office 365, a user mailbox requires a license. Those other mechanisms don't. So let's get going on that. So planning mailboxes. Start from scratch, almost. Really take a good look at what you have in place, and we want to try to analyze it and break it down, get rid of things we don't need, because we want to minimize the number of user mailboxes or licenses that you purchase. But at the same time, you will need at least one user mailbox for every user accessing email, and we do need to recreate previous routing. So you're going to have, if you have some routing, some forwarding, some workflows set up, we want to make sure we reproduce that if it's important to your workflow and how you get things done. We want to make sure we offer that, but at the same time, we want to help you reduce the number of licenses that you have and use the mechanisms available so that you're not paying for licenses that you don't need. So understanding available mechanisms and terminology. So let's go through them real quick. A user mailbox is an email repository with a primary email address and any number of alias email addresses. The user mailbox requires a license. A shared mailbox is an email repository with a primary email address and any number of aliases, but it does not require a license, but it can only be accessed from a user mailbox. So you can't just get a bunch of shared mailboxes. You need to have at least one user mailbox to access those. However, it'd be very cumbersome to have, say, one user mailbox and then add a whole bunch of shared mailboxes for all the addresses you need, because you'd have one person constantly logging on. It would get very cumbersome and just unwieldy. An alias is a secondary or tertiary email address attached to a user or shared mailbox. It does not require a license. Really, email addresses, once you own the domain, you can have as many email addresses as you want. You have to start thinking about licenses for mailboxes, and that's about it. Everything else you can add in the Office 365 world, you can add for free, essentially. You can have as many email addresses as you like. You just have to know where to route them. And again, if it's a user, you need a license. If it's a shared mailbox, alias, or distribution list, you don't. A distribution list is an email address that will distribute all inbound messages to a list of recipients in the organization. So messages sent to a distribution list will go to user mailboxes. Okay, so let's start diagramming this out a little bit then. Let's pretend we still have Alpha Company. There's Jane and Bob. Now, they will access their mailboxes up on Office 365 in the cloud. Doesn't matter if they're in the office or if they're at home, they will have access to these mailboxes. These are the user mailboxes. And just for the purpose of this presentation diagram, I'm just going to represent these side by right here on the left-hand side. But when they're accessing them, they are accessing them up in the cloud. So here's Jane with her mailbox, Bob with his primary user mailbox, Sally with hers, and Jim with his. So this would be 4 user mailboxes, 4 licenses for Office 365 Business Essentials or Business Premium. They have both those plans have email services. If they went with Premium, then Jane, Bob, and Sally and Jim can install the latest Office suite on their workstation. If they just went with Essentials, then they already have it installed. So I have this represented by just a little one person here, so it's a user mailbox. So let's try to reproduce that previous scenario there. So here's a distribution list, info@alpha.com, and any email coming to that address would automatically go to Bob and Jane. The distribution lists are essentially free, but obviously you need user mailboxes for the mail to go to. So here's Jane and Bob with their primary email addresses on their user mailboxes. Here's the info@alpha.com distribution list. Any email to that automatically goes to those two. I've added Billy here as an alias. There's the A for alias on Bob's account. Billy was a previous employee. He is now, Bob's going to receive all the email that was going to him. He can pick a time frame of a month or 2 months or a year, and then we can remove Billy@alpha.com, or he can keep it for as long as he wants. Doesn't matter. It doesn't cost him anything extra. Aliases are free. So any email coming to that email address automatically goes to Bob's inbox in his user mailbox. Now, the other email address in that previous example was sales. So for this, we're going to set up a shared mailbox. We could set it up as an alias if we just wanted it to go straight to Bob, or we could set it up as a distribution list if we wanted to go to more than one person. But there's a reason I'm going to recommend we set this up as a shared mailbox. So I've represented that with an icon here with multiple people on this. So it's a shared mailbox. So now any email coming to that address will reside in this shared mailbox. And oops, there we go. And Bob can have full access to that shared mailbox from his user mailbox. Now, an advantage of this is the mail will always just sit in this shared mailbox, and he can use it for processing. He can use it for marking it done. He can put different comments on it. He can utilize it a lot better. You can set up different workflows with using a shared mailbox for that. And I'm going to go into a few examples in a couple minutes here where I think I'll hopefully demonstrate where that could be even more advantageous. So at this point, we've reproduced everything in this previous example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 email addresses and 2 users. So in this example here, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mailboxes, depending on if you're going with Office 365 Business Essentials or Office 365 Business Premium. That's 5 times whatever cost per month. However, over here, the way I've set this up is you've got 2 user mailboxes. You're only paying for 2 user mailboxes. You're using these other mechanisms, distribution lists, shared mailboxes, and aliases. You're using those mechanisms to collect the email and perform the routing that you were over here with 5 mailboxes. So this is a very good example of where we've broken this down, broken this old system down, and used the existing mechanisms within Office 365 to produce it with the minimum number of licenses required, 2. So let's keep going then. Let's add a few more. So down here, I've created an alias, another alias for Steve and Roger. Maybe Jim lost 2 employees and he wants to get all the email that would have been sent to them. So they're an alias, so they're going right to Jim's inbox. Let's take a look at some more sales examples here. And this does happen quite a bit. So let's say sales is growing and Bob wants to set up another shared mailbox for Sales West. So here's maybe a general sales at alpha.com, and here's a Sales West. Maybe he's got some customers that are going to send email just to that. Now, he can share that shared mailbox, that's why it's called a shared mailbox, with another user. So maybe Sally is helping Bob out, and she's going to take over Sales West. So now both of them can see all the email that comes into Sales West. Bob can flag stuff. Sally, please take care of this. Sally can say, yeah, I got it done. Just like messages in your own mailbox, maybe you flag them or categorize them. With Sales West, they can both see those. They can flag them, they can categorize them, they can color them, they can mark them for each other. So that's a big advantage of having a shared mailbox that just appears in your navigation tree on the left-hand side of your Outlook. Big advantage of having a shared mailbox to collect that mail and share it with another user. down here, maybe Tina now is another employee that has left, and we just add that alias to Jim. Again, these are all free. Aliases are free, shared mailboxes are free, distribution lists are free. So let's keep going. Maybe now we've expanded to Sales North. So that's another shared mailbox that Bob will have access to, and any email coming to Sales North will go to that shared mailbox, but maybe he's the only one that wants to access that, so that's fine. Maybe there's an employee that's gone on mat leave or something named Tracy, and while she's gone, both Sally and Jim want to have access to her email. So that's fine, that's free as well. Shared mailboxes are free. So in this example here, as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 email addresses, but I'm only using 4 user mailboxes. And as you can see, we've got some pretty good mechanisms set up here to help manage workflow and manage sales emails and so on. But this can also be used for emails like production or operations or other things too. So anyway, that's about it for that. I'll mention one more thing, the send as function. So in Outlook, this is a screenshot of Outlook 2016, but it's similar in previous versions of Outlook. If you go to your compose screen, which I've done here, and you go to options and click the from, you actually get a field that says from, meaning you can change the from address to something you have access to. So you can send as another user. Now with proper permissions, all of these actually require special permissions to be set up on the server or on the Office 365 portal, which we can do. 365 Technologies can do that for any of our customers. Or you can send as a distribution list, or you can send as a shared mailbox, or you can send as an alias. So maybe in the previous example, maybe some users want to send as Tracy while she's away, or send as Bob, or send as Jane. Send as a distribution list. You can send an email maybe back to a user that sent something to info. You can send something back to them as info, thank you for your request, etc., etc. Or send it with another user. Maybe an admin assistant wants to send as her boss or his boss for a while that person is out of the office. So that is the send as function, just another piece available and might help you understand how you want to set up your email. So 365 Technologies will start with a mailbox audit and an account audit. So we typically look at all the mailboxes that are currently set up. We look at all the accounts that are set up. We remove anything that's no longer needed. We verify with our customers, of course. If we don't need it, let's get rid of it. We want to plan user mailboxes, shared mailboxes, aliases, and distribution lists. So just like I did in the example there where we put those pieces together using the minimum number of user mailboxes, because those cost money, we want to use all the mechanisms available to us to create all that good workflow and mail routing and mail retention and our ability to work on messages. We want to put that together with the minimum number of user mailboxes that we have to buy. Once we confirm the right number of licenses, get them ordered, set up the Office 365 portal, and begin migration tasks. So that's the end of the presentation. Please call us with any questions. You can call us at 1-877-343-3155. Thank you.